school. So the attendance challenge is really fun, and it's also based on research. Many times our students can get into that competitive spirit within either classroom versus classroom or school versus school, and that incentivizes them to have that school pride and want to be at school. Next slide, please. So we are introducing, or I am introducing to you the new EDIA program. This is an AI attendance software to increase family outreach. So one of the struggles for all the schools was family outreach, especially because we had problems middle of year with our current attendance software from PowerSchool that had a glitch that would not be remedied until next school year. So they were working very hard to find different ways to reach out to families. And with the purchase of this program, we have now received lots of parents texting back and really engaging with our platform so that it's more convenient for them to state why their student's absent. So we can't really move forward in any educational initiative without data. So the blue bars you're seeing on the side are the types of reasons why students are absent. The code is really tiny, so I apologize for that, so I'll read out loud. The blue color signifies the health or medical reasons. The green are family obligations. Yellow are transportation. Purple are mental health. Orange are vacation or travel reasons. Red is discipline or suspension, and that will be out of school suspension. And the gray will be other. So I work very closely with our attendance clerks and secretaries to ensure that this platform is in alignment with our current practices for coding attendances, as well as working with our families to ensure that they are aware that this system is in place. So many notifications have gone out at this point, and we're continuing to call families who are still hesitant to use this software. Some people don't know about AI, and just having a phone call to educate them is something that our attendance secretaries are doing when they see those conversations pop up in the platform. And if there is anything I can share with our community, if anyone's listening, please visit your school to update your phone number in person, please. We can't do that over email or over phone for student security, privacy, and safety reasons. So we are pushing out that, and we'll be working on that coming in the fall. Okay, next slide. So with EDIA, it's really helped free up some time for our families to communicate with us. And then on our side, the district outreach, I've been working with a lot of the schools to try to coordinate when I can come out to the school, talk to their teachers, or talk to the community if there's a family or a community event going on. So I was at the Drummers of Winter event back at the end of February. It was really great. Lots of families came by. We had resources to give out, and this is one way that we can give information to families about the attendance policy and how any changes have been made to their communication. We also had a guest speaker come in from, I believe he's from Virginia or Vermont, I can't remember. But Dr. George Valenzuela was here to speak to our teachers and students at Newcomb area, just due to logistical reasons. That was one of the regions that was selected to present to them. And then the teachers received a workshop as well that was 90 minutes long at Newcomb High School and Middle School, so all their staff members were involved in that, and it was very well received. A lot of them really wanted something like that to come back. So actually he will be presenting again at the Welcome Back address in school start. We also have been I have been working with the attendance PLC teams. So that team is consisting of like our health our health personnel, our attendance secretaries, guidance counselors, and principals. So many of the questions that I do have about their practices are talked about in that meeting, and a lot of the decisions that are made about attendance or the direction I'm moving in are coming from those conversations. And then lastly, just my last highlight there is I was selected to present at the PED Attendance PLC, our virtual meeting that we have each month, and they wanted me to share the tools used during our March attendance challenge. So they are seeing some of the good things we're doing here in the district. Next, please. So there's so much that the schools are doing, and these pictures just kind of show you the outreach that we've been trying to promote to families, such as showing them the health guidance for when their students should come to school and what type of illness is too much for them to have to stay at home, as well as providing some positive messaging, and then just creating consistent attendance systems across the district is something that I will continue to work on. So with that, thank you. I stand for questions.
Ms. Haskell, any questions?
No, but I want to commend you for trying different things. I really look forward to seeing what the results are at all the schools to see the impact and as we continue to move along. Thank you.
Ms. Aspis, any questions?
Yes, so for your position, is this a full-time permanent, or is this grant, or how are you being paid, or?
So my position does come from an initiative from New Mexico State. We have a grant, the attendance improvement grant. Many districts have been awarded that, and so my salary does come from that budget.
Okay. Well, I think like I said earlier, everyone's trying to figure out what the solution would be, and I think some of the things that you touched on, it's just, I wish you all the luck, and I hope that we can get this, better results, and I think you're the person that's probably going to do it. Thank you.
Mr. So, any questions?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for I mean, this data is very informative as far as what I can see. I think one of the questions I have is on the chronic absenteeism. You have two schools that are pretty much close to each other. You have Newcomb Elementary and Newcomb Middle School, but then the one that really sticks out is Newcomb High School. Is there something going on at Newcomb High School that is really affecting the chronic absenteeism? And when you go back to even like the AI tool, I think it's very informative. So here it looks like there's a lot of issues going on with discipline and suspension at Newcomb High School. Is that? It appears like a lot of the absences are being caused because of disciplinary suspensions, followed by Seven Up Middle School, and then Mesa has a high number of students that are on vacation. Wow.
Like weekend extenders is kind of the terminology used. So they'll be absent Friday and then maybe Monday. Those are like a common trend. Going to Albuquerque, going to Gallup, they're coming back on holiday, those types of situations. And to answer your question about Newcomb High, we did kind of address this a little bit in February, but just following up on that, there were a lot of high school students in that region who were moving from high school to high school, and sometimes they enrolled and they didn't show up. So those absences stacked up against the school, and it stays with them. So the state does record those, and when I ran this data back in, I believe, end of February, many of those students that had those high chronic absences they left that school, and maybe they moved to another school, but they were kind of jumping around.
Okay, so in that instance, is there a better way to have a cleaner set of data on that? If that way it's not counted against the school, if that's the case.
If I may, that comes off as a negative to his point that he's making, but it's really not that. It's just a matter of the circumstance of the students moving around, but yet it again, it reflects as a negative to the school.
Correct. Yeah, and Mr. Levine did bring that point up as far as we do take on that data. And according to New Mexico PED, that is something that is counted. So they count all the unexcused absences and out of school suspension in our chronic absence figures.
Yeah, I'm good for the moment. Thanks.
All right, Ms. Matoya?
I do have a quick question. The health guidance for going to school, is that something that's going to be passed out at the beginning of the school year as well? I did want to point out that I didn't realize head lice wasn't a reason not
Shocking.
to keep your kids in school. I personally don't know if I would agree with that, but just because there's been a stigma for decades, honestly, about that. How are we re-educating parents on, it's gross, but send them in?
Yeah, when I saw that in our health policy, I also had a shocking response to it. But after talking with some of the team members who are working with families directly, experiencing those barriers to coming to school, the ICO department and the Family Resource Center, they do have lice kits that they give out to families. But if you don't solve the root cause, like this family has a multi-generation or even like multiple children living in the same home, the parent has circumstances that prevent them from treating the cleanliness altogether. It can be remedied temporarily, but again, it falls into that capacity to remedy it long-term. And that's where we are seeing a lot of support coming from our departments to reach out to the families and to help them throughout the school year. But again, you do bring up a great point of educating families, and this document is available on our attendance website. So if you guys go to our ccsdnm.org/attendance, I've updated that entire website, so it has all of our monthly attendance challenges, all of the board presentations. The previous ones are on there. Those are public information. And the health guidance, and as well as our attendance policies, they're all on our website. And then, of course, we will plan on adding those to the packets to the enrollment. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate the fact that you're doing what you're doing to certainly help increase the attendance throughout the entire district. And that term weekend extenders, I mean, that can be huge and have a lasting impact over time with the education of these kids, especially, and I know we approve the calendar, but it's even worse when you have half days on a week, on Fridays. And so that's going to increase even more in some of these areas where it's already a problem. And I know that's one of the biggest problems with a lot of the educators. They'll tell me that, we buy so many half days because the families started doing that and began to use and apply that term, weekend extenders. So hopefully we can reconsider that.
Right. It's a double-sided coin.
Absolutely. I get that.
Yeah. So what I'm working on for parent outreach again is that education, and some of the principals brought up really excellent ideas about having family engagement meetings. I'm going to try to have some before the end of the school year as well. But it's what I've been telling our teachers and our principals, is it's a mindset shift. We have to really alter where our priorities are. And if a family's priority is taking their kids with them and kind of putting their education on the back burner, that's something that is what we need to address as a community. So just to let you know, according to research, it has to extend more than the school district. So we have to get partnered with outside organizations, and that's something that I'm working on as well to help our community come together for our students.
Good, and I did have a parent and some teachers tell me that it would be nice, to your point, of having an event on those half days so the families can come in and have some kind of celebration or some kind of event to bring them into the schools.
It's a good
which
idea.
would be nice. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
President Montoya, may I ask another question?
Yes, you may, before she walks off. Go ahead.
On that absenteeism, you know, a lot of these our communities are products of CCSD, and I asked a question before about tardiness. If you have 3 tardies, does that count as 1 absence? And so, being that maybe when they were students, their parents did the same thing, and taking them along or skipping on Fridays or Mondays, and that is become acceptable, and especially in the rural area, where they're located. It's to me, I feel like we don't know if it's for employment. Maybe there's they go to other places to sell their work or whatever, and then come back. And but I think the route you're taking, and I really appreciate trying to understand, and then I think we all need to be educated too, that today's school system, we have to be mindful and know that absenteeism is important. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
President Montoya, can I just add one thing really quick?
Sure.
Tia was recently recognized by the state. She's done more work in 4 months than a lot of the other attendance coordinators in the state. She actually presented a couple of weeks ago. So I just wanted to share that she's done an amazing job supporting schools.
Don't say that too loud because they may try to take her. Thank you. Thank you. Outstanding. To item C, Rural Pathways Institute. Superintendent Carlson and Ms. Lee.
I apologize, it will only be myself this evening. Roxanne Lee fell ill, and she's not able to come. So if you have any questions that I can't answer, I'll have to get somebody else in here, like perhaps, okay. Mr. Deswood and Sandra Westbrook can both help out. And there it is. So this is all about a trip that I took about a month ago. I went to Pittsburgh with Roxanne Lee, and the two of us met with a group. Is it not going to stay? A group from San Juan College, and the whole point of the institute was dual credit. And I'll go ahead and start with that second slide right there. So here's kind of what it was about. The mission was implementing a dual enrollment equity pathways to advance K through K-12 pathways. It was between San Juan College and CCSD, as well as other schools in the county. Farmington was there. They represented Bloomfield, and Aztec were also represented. It was in March 11th through 3rd in Pittsburgh. And the goal was, so one of the things we tend to do with dual credit, and not to anybody's fault or anything like that, but we tend to just wait for kids to come into a counseling office and decide, hey, I want to take a dual credit class, and they sign up for a class. And so we haven't done a very good job in our district of really aligning it and making sure that we have pathways and going out and getting those students. So that's kind of the goal of this, to move away from just sort of random acts of dual credit. Next slide. So this slide basically just kind of shows you this year how many dual credit students we had in each of the locations. As you can see, Kirtland Central High School was fairly well represented, but Shiprock High School, there were only 39 students in both the fall and the spring, and Newcomb High School, only 26 students in the fall and the spring. And we're showing you this just, so you can know actual true numbers. One of the other areas you'll notice, and I don't know if this is, hopefully this is true, Mr. Paniagua, but we didn't involve career prep in the dual credit. And that's something that we need to remedy in the coming years. Because I think dual credit, especially if we go the path of CTE, which we're hoping we do, the dual credit is just as important for CTE classes as it is for other classes, especially in terms of jobs in the communities that we serve. Next slide. Okay, again, this is what I referenced in the previous slides, the DEEP framework, which is dual enrollment equity pathways, which is a model that's recognized nationally. And so there were groups from throughout the nation. Some exemplars were there. There are 4 pillars to this approach, and those are listed right there. They're outreach, alignment, advising, and support. And outreach is what I was just talking about. You go out and you make sure you bring the students in. You go find those students. You align your courses, and you use advising, not just from our team, from our counselors, but also what's going to be really important as we move forward is the partnerships that we have with San Juan College and CCSD. And then we want to provide support as much as possible, because nationally, students who are involved in dual credit programs in high school are much more likely to go to college, whether it's the community college in the community or throughout nationally. But that's just something we want to get our students involved. And then it talks about success metrics down there, analysis of local enrollment data, identifies gaps in participation among underrepresented student groups, which the DEEP framework is specifically designed to close. Next slide. So there's a couple of key takeaways here. The DEEP practice area 1, outreach, and then alignment and resource sharing. Our primary task is to audit our courses and ensure that they align with the labor market. We need to make sure we're training students for jobs that actually exist in the Four Corners area through those takeaways right there. And the takeaways for San Juan College, they're committed to maintaining what's called National Alliance of Concurrent Enrollment Partnerships, NACEP standards. This ensures that the credits our students earn are high quality, and they should transfer not just to New Mexico schools, but to schools across the nation, saving families a lot of money on tuition. Everybody knows how expensive tuition is these days. And our big goal is removing barriers, invisible barriers like transportation, scheduling, and internet access that have kept our participation numbers low at schools, or non-existent actually, at schools like career prep. Next slide. And so there's the next step there. Closing the gap is important. We want to make sure we launch a targeted recruitment and advising initiative for career prep and Newcomb to go along with Shiprock and Kirtland. And that's something that San Juan College actually admitted to their portion of the failures there. They have a tendency to want to go to the institutions that are closest. So they'll show up probably to Kirtland a little more than they will to Shiprock. And it's difficult to get down to Newcomb. But they are committed to working with us to make sure those numbers get better. We're also committed to regional collaboration. And pathways alignment, which I was talking about, was very, very important. Instead of which you can read up there, it says dead-end credits. We don't want just that, like, oh, here's just a credit. It's a high school credit and a college credit that can't really be used to be aligned with any path forward. And so there's the outcome, a seamless transition from high school to a high-wage career or degree without loss of time or credits. And next slide. And there you go. Again, I think the best thing for me was just to get involved and see nationally how important this is, but also to work with the folks at San Juan College. The people we worked with, a couple of them I had not worked before. I do meet with the president and the vice president fairly regularly. I will meet with them again tomorrow, and so we'll be talking about this again. But as far as their team that actually comes out to the district, they really formed a partnership with Roxanne Lee. So it was great for me to be able to go out there and to kind of see what's really going on with dual credit. So that's the end of the presentation. Again, thank you all. Questions from the board, comments?
Ms. Askey, any questions?
No, but I think it's a great opportunity for our students. So just let us know how we can support. Thank you.
Ms. Aspis, any questions?
Yes, how well did I just find it funny all the way out to Philadelphia. And
Pittsburgh, but
I don't know, I just, and how did you hear about this?
so that's a great question. Thank you for that. And just to answer, you know, I think sometimes folks are worried about people traveling across the country because we do have people who go to different conferences. So San Juan College actually works with this group, and they've gone to these Pathways Institute previously. And so this is the third one of them where they actually wanted, the goal of this one was to bring along the partners. And so that's why they reached out to superintendents from all the districts in the county. And then, of course, they paid for the entire trip. They paid for lodging and registration and travel and meals and everything. So there was no cost to CCSD, which I don't know if you're getting at that or not, but I figure you might have wanted to know that important detail. And also, I did get to see the Three Rivers of Pittsburgh, the confluence, and I'm not going to name the rivers because I know two of them, but I'm struggling with the third name. But those of you who've been to Pittsburgh, it is a beautiful city. So
Not too.
Well, that's good that your trip was funded, and because you still owe money to the district.
Ouch.
Thank you.
thank you, thank you, Secretary Aspis.
Joking.
Mr. Saul?
I don't have any questions except to just express support for this initiative. Thank you. I would definitely look forward to seeing outcomes come out of this as well, like any data.
Ms. Montoya?
I just want to say that I'm happy that San Juan is making a better effort for the Shiprock and Newcomb High Schools, and that was discussed and collaborated on, so thanks.
So I have to admit, the superintendent asked me if he should go, and I said absolutely so. Thank you for going. Appreciate that. I thought he was inviting me, but I didn't want to go. But I do appreciate that information. And my daughter actually works at the college with student advisement, and she had said a couple of times that, I know we had this conversation before, but I just want to say publicly that there were issues with some of the schools within CCSD and they're responding to them. So I hope this collaboration really strengthens and expands, especially down south, and with, as you had stated, with career prep, with what they're doing. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Okay, on to item D, accounts payable disbursements. Board report summary. Ms. Gallagher, floor is yours. Well, before you start, I was going to throw out a funny to this guy. He said he got to see the confluence of the Three Rivers, and it wasn't two rivers and a dry creek like we have.
No, sir. All three of our rivers would have fitted to about maybe an eighth of one of those rivers.
Okay.
So.
Good evening, President Montoya, school board members, community members, Superintendent Carlson. So I have some financial information that we give each month, and I'm going to keep it kind of short tonight because we have some much more important financial information up after me. So, but I did want to hit over some of our disbursement listings. For Johnson O'Malley, our disbursements in March were $14,031.31. Year to date, $82,640.99. If you look down at revenues for Johnson, for our revenues, we still have not, as of the end of March, received any additional Johnson O'Malley funds.
It's budget cycle.
Correct. We're in the middle of doing our budgets right now, and our SEG for next year is looking just over on the operational side only. We don't have our impact aid numbers at about $64 million.
Okay. Do you have any projections on the federal funding side? Have you received any communications about Title I, Title II, 3, 4, or some
None of
the other?
those yet. So we don't have those numbers yet. We are just working with SEG currently with the state of New Mexico.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Asmus.
Hello.
Go ahead, Ms. Asmus.
Okay, just to let you know, it keeps dropping, going in and out. I'm not sure if it's just my end or. Did you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. On the, I know there's still things that are, as far as the administration at the White House level, and that are still being talked about and discussed. And so in any of these budgets, have they anything related to that?
We have not had any direct communication on any of that at this point from anything at the federal level. I know that Mr. Montoya is headed to Washington next week to try to advocate for our impact aid funds and those types of things, but we have not had any indication on those funds as of yet. The JOM funds were held up until after the shutdown happened, and then they were released, and that's what the delay in JOM has been. And it's been a little frustrating getting those funds in place.
Mm-hmm. And also, third general session, the president to be or coming in didn't mention, to really pay attention and to start advocating. And I was wondering if there's something had what he meant by that. I think just overall, especially with the education department at the federal level.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Montoya.
I do have a quick question. I noticed that we have quite a large number of outstanding checks. I reviewed the data quickly. I see some from 2024 and then early 2025. Is someone actively looking into those to reconcile?
Actually, after we had ran this, we did go through and reconcile a lot of our outstanding checks as part of the budgeting process also.
All right, thanks.
I don't have any questions, but thank you. And again, just as in regards to the clarification, that would be May 10th through the 14th. That will be
May
put
10th
out
through the
there.
14th?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So hopefully we'll have some kind of, if not resolution, certainly a move in the positive direction, because even at a standstill at 26 budgeting, that's still going to be a little painful in respects without any increases
Correct.
for the school district and all the districts receiving impact aid. So thank you for that.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, on to item 8, reports of possible board action. A, presentation of board action on annual financial audit report by Mr. Byron Manning.
Do we still have a full house and audience?
Standing room only. No, it's waiting,
Yeah, everybody just waits to hear.
waiting for
Numbers.
with bated breath for Mr. Manning to
The
speak
audit.
his- yeah, there you go.
Everybody wants to hear about the audit, Chris. Hardly anyone wants to hear about it anyway. So,
Rip the Band-Aid off.
yep. So, the audit, the overall purpose of an audit is to get an opinion on your financial statements. And are those financial statements fairly presented? Fairly presented doesn't mean perfect, because none of us could know if they're perfect. We'd have to look at every transaction. And then you would have to hope that the auditor didn't make any mistakes looking at it.
You don't make mistakes, Steve.
Well, ask my wife. So I'm not going to claim to be perfect either. She reminds me. So, but that means, are the mistakes small enough that they wouldn't make, that management or board wouldn't make different decisions based on a perfect set of financials versus a set of financials which may have minor errors through it. And that number changes based on how big your financials are. It's a percentage is how it's calculated. So if you got a line item that has $42 million in it and you're $200,000 off, 200,000 sounds like a lot, but out of 42 million, it's nothing. And so that's the way you end up reading. And so you have a confidence level of about 95% that no, you're not going to have any major errors after you finish the audit. So your opinion is an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion you can receive, and the opinion you're wanting to receive. On page 7, you got your statement of net position. That's kind of like a balance sheet for a business. It includes all your assets, your liabilities, your buildings, all of those things. Net position for the district was about $126 million, and which is good when you consider the state makes you carry liabilities on the books for the RHC and the ERB that has to be paid out to CCSD employees in the future. And basically, those come to $134 million net liability to the state just for the employees at Central Schools. And that's not really a liability of the district, but the state makes you carry that liability. In the statement of activities, which is kind of an income statement presented in a strange way, your change in net position was a positive 22 million. Now, a lot of that comes down to changes in the pension and OPEB liabilities in their assumptions, because every year those numbers swing greatly year to year as they make assumptions and based on investment earnings and things like that. Now, a couple of things we had an error correction of a couple of them of $666,000, which was related to an error in the capital assets. So that was fixed. And then there was another minor error for a liability we had recorded on the books that really didn't exist. Then we had a restatement, a change in accounting principles for the year. There was a new GASB that got implemented that had a big effect on school districts from a paper perspective. Again, it's kind of a paper entry. Before, you recorded compensated absences on the books, but those were for the compensated absences you paid out when a person left. Basically, vacation leave type situations. Starting this last year, governmental entities had to start recording an estimated liability for sick leave. Even though you weren't going to pay someone out their sick leave when they leave, it still had to show as a liability, which in my opinion, it doesn't show a whole lot to a school district because you encumber the full salary of the individual to start with at the beginning of the year. So whether they take a sick day or a regular work day, you've encumbered all of it to begin with. But government standards board said, no, you've got to come up with an estimate. Now you had different ways you could come up with the estimate, and some of them could be very time consuming because the way they said an ideal way was you take every employee in your district and you look at their 3-year history. And you do an estimate of how much leave they're going to take on 3 years rolling, and every year you redo that. Well, that's a lot of time for a paper entry. And so we had asked and at trainings, and they said it would work. So when I explained the district's way they could do it, I said another way you consider is, if you want, put the whole liability on your books. Take every employee, how many leave days do they have, multiply it by their ending salary, there you got a number, put it on your books. How long did that take? Well, a whole lot less than if you try to calculate and every year you do that rolling number. So, and again, it's a paper entry. Are you really going to pay out everybody's leave in 1 year? No. So, most districts went what I would consider the smart way and said, put the liability on the books and let's move forward.
So that's better over than under, right?
Yes. In essence, you say, here's the maximum liability we have. And so it's the conservative approach to accounting and the easy approach, because there's always that question, is it worth the time that it takes you to do something? If a control saves you $3 but costs you $400 to do it, is it a good control? So those are the types of questions you always have to ask in accounting. In the balance sheet, the operational fund cash balance is about 8.2 million. You do that by adding the cash, the interfund receivables, which are the amounts you loan to funds with negative cash balances, and subtract out the accrued payroll liabilities, which are liabilities from payroll that aren't paid out till July, August, September. So, and that was an increase of about $570,000 on the year for the operational fund. The statement of revenues and expenditures, revenues exceeded expenditures by about $539,000 in the operational fund, and overall revenues exceeded expenditures by about $6.4 million. On pages 22 to 55, you've got your notes to the financials, which I always recommend board members spend some time to look at. They'll give you a good information on accounting requirements for the district in all the various areas. And they also give you more detail on your cash, detail on your fixed assets, detail on your liabilities, your debt, things like that. So that's good to know. Worst case scenario, it's good for insomnia. Take it to bed with you, read a few pages, go to sleep quicker. That's a summary of the boring part of it. Now we're going to jump to the end of the financial report and turn it over to Chris and let him take it from there. And then if anybody has any questions as we're going through that, go ahead and stop him and ask.
So I'm going to start with the report on internal control. This is the independent auditor's report. So a report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters based on an audit. Financial statements performed in accordance with government auditing standards. Basically, this report lays out the review of your internal controls and whether or not there were any findings in the audit and the level findings that you can possibly have are material weakness, which is the most severe, a significant deficiency, which would be less severe than a material weakness, and then your final are going to be your other non-compliance. Those are typically errors of human error or small dollar amounts that typically don't have an effect on your financial statements. And I always start off with a definition of what a material weakness is and a significant deficiency, so that way people have an understanding of what we mean when we say those. So a material weakness is a deficiency or a combination of deficiencies in internal control such that there is a reasonable possibility that a material misstatement of the entity's financial statements will not be prevented or detected and corrected on a timely basis. We did have a couple of findings which we consider to be material weaknesses. These are 2025-2 and 2025-7. I will go over those in detail at the end of my presentation. A significant deficiency is a deficiency or a combination of deficiencies in internal control that is less severe than material weakness, yet important enough to merit attention by those charged with governance. We considered the following deficiencies: 2025-1, 2025-3, 4, 5, 6, and 8 to be considered significant deficiencies. In your compliance and other matters section, we did have additional findings that would fall under that last and least severe, and that's going to be 2025-9, 10, 11, and 12. The next report is on page 103. This is the report on compliance for each major federal program, and similar to the prior report, except for it is dealing with your federal program specifically. They have the same level of findings that are possible: material weakness, significant deficiency, or other matters. And I don't believe we had any findings in the federal programs. Next, we're going to come to your schedule of expenditure of federal awards on page 106. This schedule will lay out all of the federal dollars that the district received. There on the left-hand side, you'll have the different programs, their assistance listing number, and the total amount of expenditures. The district had $41,697,645 in federal expenditures in the audit year. Next is the summary of the audit results on page 109. It just rehashes much of what the financials have stated. The type of report that was issued, again, unmodified, and whether or not they're within your financial statements, any internal control findings, material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, or non-compliance that is material to the financial statements. The federal awards, again, get the same summary, whether there were any material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, and the opinion that was issued, again, unmodified. Your major program that was subjected to the single audit process was your impact aid. For the district, for your dollar threshold to distinguish between what is a type A and type B program was $1,250,929, and then whether or not the auditee qualified as a low-risk auditee, and the answer is yes. So now I'll go over.
I have a question.
Certainly.
Did he say to ask the question as,
You may ask a
or
question.
do we wait?
You may ask your question.
Okay. Okay, on the one he's just finishing up at the bottom of the first page, where it talks about governmental conduct. 2025-003.
I haven't gone over the findings yet.
Oh, okay. Okay, I was wondering why you didn't, I thought we were on that area. That's what I'm seeing on my screen. And I was wondering why you didn't talk about that, because I think in ASBO, we were being used as an example.
Yeah, so certainly when I get to that
Our
finding, you
district.
can certainly ask those questions. We'll go over that for you.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So the first finding is going to be 2025-1, and I'll go over the formatting of the findings so that way people have an idea of why they're laid out on this first finding. And then on subsequent findings, I'll just go over the condition as to what actually happened. But you'll see there at the top 2025-1, and then immediately followed in brackets 2021-12. That indicates that this is a repeat finding from 2021. And this is the internal controls over requests for reimbursements and grant monitoring. There in parentheses at the end of the title, you'll see the level of the finding. In this case, this is a significant deficiency. Then we go into the criteria. The criteria is going to lay out what the NMAC, the NMSA, the federal regulation, the PSAB, whatever is the controlling regulation for the finding will then be listed. And we try to bold, since a lot of times this is quite a bit of legislative talk, we try to bold specifically which section of that NMAC pertains to this finding. Then you have the condition. The condition will actually lay out what the internal control or the finding was. So during our review of grant funds, we noted the following issues which have occurred in the current year or are cumulative issues which have occurred over multiple years. While the district attempted to clean up multiple federal state grant funds that have negative and positive balances that should not exist, additional funds developed positive or negative fund balances, permanent cash transfers were requested and approved in the prior year, but additional cash transfer requests will have to be completed in the current year. Additionally, some funds not cleaned up in the prior year need to be cleaned up in the current year. As an example, the AARP ESSER 3 Fund 24330 closed out in September of 2024. However, the fund still carries balances of $1,503 in accounts payable, $8,061 in accrued payroll liabilities, and a negative cash balance of $8,296, which will have to be covered by operational funds. The district had liabilities to a previous charter school for grant reimbursements that were not paid out. While the district charter school became a state charter school at the beginning of the fiscal year, the district made entries which created $110,406 in intergovernmental grant liabilities in the books, even though the charter no longer flows funds through the district. The district does not appear to have any systemic method to track these funds monthly and verify that the RFRs, that's requests for reimbursements, are done monthly and that the amounts correlate to existing fund balances. Now, because this is a repeat finding, immediately after the condition, you're going to have a brief statement of whether or not there has been some improvement in this finding from the prior year, whether it's about the same, or if there has been regression. Next, we're going to have the cause. The cause lays out what we believe caused the district to occur this finding. The effect is the effect that this has either on the system of internal controls or the financial statements. And then there's the auditor's recommendation. That's what we as auditors recommend and the district do in order to rectify the finding. And then finally, you have the responsible officials plan. This is the district's response to the finding, the corrective action plan that they've come up with to correct the finding, the timeline for completion, and the employee or employees who are responsible for that timeline. And as board members, that's where you would go to if you want to follow up with the district in a couple months on getting these cleaned up. That's where I would point you to look and see who you would want to speak to. Next is 2025-2. This is the improper recording and maintenance of fixed assets. It was a material weakness. The district had an activity bus which it purchased in 2003 at a value of $156,384.04 and an estimated life of 20 years. This activity bus showed an accumulated depreciation of a negative $812,914.70. In the prior year, it had a negative accumulated depreciation of $651,364.91, a difference of $161,549.79 in 1 year. The district was able to make an adjustment to the assets, but the asset still does not have the correct accumulated depreciation. The asset should be completely depreciated with its 20-year life, but is only 52.5% depreciated at this time. This results in the necessity of the district completing a prior period adjustment of $725,647.31 to the beginning net position to increase the accumulated depreciation to the current balance, which is still under depreciated by $74,282.44.
Just real quick, for this particular finding, is this the first time this got flagged? Would it be possible to, instead of having it flagged as a material weakness, probably change to a significant deficiency, or is it this severe?
The dollar value.
The dollar value?
Yeah, because you have nearly a $750,000 adjustment to the financial statements.
Okay.
That would be above your materiality level.
Yeah, because usually when things are flagged for a first time, it's usually like a significant deficiency. But, okay, the dollar amount.
Correct.
It always depends on the severity, even if it's the first time, but it's a critical item, either a 4 internal control or a dollar threshold, that makes it a material.
So you're saying that I'm completely, I can't follow what you're saying
Okay.
in the dollar amount. Can you maybe give me a different
Certainly. So you purchased,
way of explanation?
certainly. So you purchased the school bus for about, let's just say $150,000. Each year, over 20 years, you're going to depreciate that asset out. So in 20 years, the value of that bus is 0, is what it should go to. Now, what was happening in your visions, you were going into a negative depreciation. So you depreciated out the full $150,000 and then an additional $500,000 of depreciation. So a asset which only had $150,000 value showed depreciation of negative, $700,000.
Jeez.
Wow. So did you, in your, or if you researched, did you find out why, or?
It's diesel.
It's probably just an error coding within Visions, within the system that tracks your assets and depreciation. We had another district, I believe, that had the same error, where assets were getting depreciated beyond 0. So that would be a training issue on making sure assets are inputted into Visions and depreciated correctly. So it was partly a software issue that wasn't caught by the individuals, but the software was depreciating wrong and we didn't catch it.
So I was going to ask that question about AI or the ability for the program to be able to catch that and then stop that at the end of its life, pursuant to the 20 years that he was giving us as the example, correct?
It's that, or a recommendation we do is when you print, do a simple calculation to the right to double check and see if it goes bigger than what it's calculated.
Okay.
That's how we caught it, because we do that calculation and it popped out. All right, next is 2025-3. This is the Violations of Government Conduct Act, a significant deficiency. An internal investigation revealed the former director of operations had an ownership position in a vendor which was not disclosed to the purchasing department. The vendor did not inform the district of the ownership position held by an employee of the district. There were 2 separate invoices of $5,620.57 and $3,941.69, which the director of operations had oversight over. Another issue raised by this instance is the paperwork completed at the Human Resource Department
which may indicate conflicts are not shared with the business office, which could help deter such instances in the future. And this was the one you had a question on?
Yes, and such violation, does this stay with that certain with that employee, or I'm just wondering, so it doesn't keep happening over and over.
Can you say that one more time?
Does the violation stay with the employee, or
I believe the employee
I don't want to say too much. I don't want to say
is not an
get
employee
myself in
of the
trouble.
district.
Yeah, this is unlikely to happen in the future in this specific instance, since that was a personnel removal.
Well, I'm looking at it more as, if this occurred in another district and then that person comes and applies for here, CSD, then do those kind of things stay with those individuals, or are we susceptible to hiring somebody with that may not disclose that?
Yeah, there's nothing within the financials or with any sort of state tracking agency where somebody would get a tag when applying for any future employment.
Okay, thank you.
Board President,
Yes.
I just want to clarify that in that instance, a complaint should be filed with the Public Education Department regarding that person's licensure through the state to work in a public school district. And I'm not sure if that occurred here, but I think it did. We can clarify that with Superintendent later.
It did. Thank you.
Yeah, I was actually about to ask that question next, but it was answered. So this one looks like it might be even a referral to the Attorney General for prosecution, if that's what needs to happen here, if that's the case.
If I may state a point of order before we get too far off that discussion, so we'll stick to the report in and of itself. We're not having that personnel discussion, Ms. Chappelle. But I appreciate the comment in respects to what you said as a follow-up. So as long as we understand that, we'll just keep moving forward. Thank you.
Okay. Next is going to be 2025-4. This is internal controls over debt payments, a significant deficiency. The district has a bond with the New Mexico Public School Finance Authority. A debt service account is maintained there as well, which had a beginning balance of $17,185.59 with a scheduled principal payment of $1,455,000 and interest payments of $2,764.50. The PSFA used $17,116.67 of the cash balance to apply towards the principal and interest payments due at the time. As such, the district only had to issue a payment of $1,440,647.83. District personnel then recorded the $17,116.67 as a credit to the principal, which caused the payment to be underreported on the general ledger. The cash at the PSFA is being maintained in an incorrect fund and is not being reconciled correctly. The ending balance in this fund was $1,241.47, which is recorded in the district books as a positive balance of $1,979, in the impact aid operational fund $15,100, and a negative cash balance of $738 in the debt service fund $41,000. The district needs to do a permanent cash transfer of the $1,979 to the debt service fund. Next is 2025-5. This is rental housing deposit liability. The district has not established policies and procedures to ensure accurate reporting of its housing deposit liability at year end. The district provided a master listing of which tenants had deposits and how much of a deposit. However, this master schedule does not tie to the current liability carried on the books. The detail had a balance of $58,436, while the liability on the trial balance was $89,841, a difference of $31,405.
So I'm assuming that's just an accounting deficiency?
Or it sounds like we don't have policies and procedures there, so the district needs to develop policies along these lines.
Yes, that's basically what it was. It's kind of the right hand not talking to the left hand. And so while the details kept in one department, it wasn't shared with the accounting department. And also was partly the people who work with the deposits not understanding how to they were supposed to code the transaction and send it to the department, the business office, not understanding how it should be coded correctly. And so business was recording what was getting sent to them, but it wasn't debiting and crediting the correct accounts. And since you didn't have a reconciliation matching them, no one was ever catching that the recording wasn't happening properly.
Next is 2025-6. This is internal controls over payroll liabilities, significant deficiency. During our review of payroll liabilities, the district showed a balance of $1,289,728 for the NIPSEA insurance liability at the year end, but subsequent payments related to NIPSEA invoices for fiscal year 25 amounted to $1,408,182.96. A difference of $118,454.96. A review of smaller liabilities indicated that some had the same balance as the previous year end. Liability balances, positive and negative, exist in the funds that are no longer active. Discussions with payroll staff indicated that they were unaware of any reconciliation process occurs matching book liabilities to actual payments. Next is 2025-7, budget access controls and expenditure of student activity funds, a material weakness. The district transportation department received access to student activity funds, which were maintained in the non-instructional support fund, $23,000. This occurred through an error in budget access controls. The department believed it had a budget far in excess of its actual funds, which it proceeded to spend. At June 30, 2025, the Transportation Department owed $163,342.37 to student activity funds. This fund contains both student activity funds and district department funds. The district transferred the transportation costs to the operational fund, which made the student activity funds whole at year end. 2025-8, rollover and maintenance of fund balances, a significant deficiency. The district reduced the fund balance in the operational fund, $11,000, during the rollover process by $96,332. The district increased the fund balance in the Impact Aid operational fund, $15,100, by $7,904. The district decreased the fund balance in the athletics fund, $22,000, by $5,731. The offsets in each of these funds were positive prepaid amounts in the $11,000 and $22,000 funds, and negative prepaid amounts in the $15,100 fund. The prepaids were not moved forward into the current year. The district had 4 funds which had an intergovernmental balance from the prior year, but for which the amount had actually been paid at June 30, 2024. Those are all of the financial statement findings. Those are all your material weaknesses and significant deficiencies. As I say, there were no federal findings. And now we get into the NMSA findings. These are your other matters. And this is an area where I always remind the board that New Mexico is what we call a zero materiality state. And that means that even if we dollar for single instance of noncompliance, the state of New Mexico requires that information to be put into the financial statements. Whereas in most states, these types of findings may not be listed in your financial statements because they generally don't have an impact on your financial statements or your system of internal controls. So these are going to be human errors, deadlines that aren't met, and things of that nature. And so we always put the dollar value and the amount of instances that we found, so that way you have an idea about the severity of these level of findings. First is going to be 2025-9. This is purchase orders. This is the most common finding in school districts. School districts have a more stringent requirement than most municipalities or state entities. You have to have a purchase order before anybody even thinks about making a purchase. And so if somebody orders something from Amazon and they don't have a purchase order, that's going to be a finding. Now, obviously, in a school district with this many people who have the ability to make a purchase, oftentimes those procedures are not followed correctly. So we had 3 instances where there was an item purchased before a valid purchase order was in place. And we list the amounts there, the dates, and so that way you can see. Next, 25-10, this is the improper reimbursement of travel expenses. Again, an extremely common finding in school since the state modified the Travel and Per Diem Act several years ago, where now you're blending per diem and actuals instead of one or the other. The state has changed this again, so now it will be much easier just to pay per diem, and you won't have to worry so much about trying to figure out if they were gone for 12 hours or 18 hours since they left and how much their partial per diem is. We had 4 out of the 5 instances that we reviewed where the reimbursement was not made properly. It's rather confusing. 2025-11, this is budgetary controls. This is cash appropriations. So the district rebudgeted cash balances in excess of available cash balances. And so there were 7 funds in which the cash budget and the actual cash available were different. The cumulative difference was $900,645. Next is 25-12, improper cash controls of outstanding warrants. The district had several stale dated checks. There were 11 stale dated checks in the accounts payable, and an additional 1425 and 1 stale dated deposit in the Bank of Southwest operational account.
The stale dated ties to what you'd asked earlier. Those are checks older than a year.
So state of New Mexico requires if a check has been outstanding for a year, it's got to be voided. And so those are all the current year findings. This last section is going to be the section 5, the prior audit year findings. It breaks up the findings from the prior year into those same 3 sections: your financial statement findings, any federal award findings, and then your NMSA findings. And then at the end of each title, it states whether the finding was repeated in the current year or if it was resolved. So last year's findings that were resolved was the failure to follow bid and RFP procedures and internal controls over outstanding outside fundraising events. Those were in your financial statements. Both of your federal award findings were resolved: the unallowable expenditures of impact aid and impact aid application. In your NMSA findings, the improper approval budget adjustment was resolved, the missing background checks were resolved, and the expenditures over budget were resolved. Any additional questions?
Any other questions from the board? Ms. Haskey? Ms. Aspis?
With
Go ahead.
with the findings, are they more processes that need to be put in place?
For some of your financial statement errors, yes, those are going to be some training and as policies and procedures that maybe need to be addressed. But your NMSA findings, for the most part, are good, considering a district this large only has 3 purchase orders. But in your budgeting area, that's definitely an area, and having departments being able to communicate with each other when one has one part of the transaction and another department has a second part of the transaction. There need to be some better communication there, I would say.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Asmus.
Yes, I just want to comment that perhaps, this is my opinion, for superintendent, that we've had other people in the financing department, and I think I wonder if perhaps we wouldn't have repeated or they didn't make such mistakes. I don't know how positive other way to put it, but and therefore we didn't need more policies, and now now we do, and I just wonder, you know, if oh man, I that we have you know, that whether they're bombarded or the lack of people, manpower in there. I don't know. That's what my question is, or my thoughts. Thank you.
Mr. So.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Ms. Montoya.
No questions. Thank you for your help on this.
So, just as a point of clarification, no federal findings.
No federal findings this year.
Yeah. So there's federal awards.
I'm just pointing somebody out right there. Thank you, Ann. Go ahead. If that's it, you want to add anything else?
No, it's just, this would be, I'll point out 4 findings, probably it's not the worst, but not the best. But average for us, for a district, is probably 8 or 9 findings. So you had 12, so you're in that range. A couple of things I think will be easy enough to clear up with the communication this year. Some of the NMSA findings you're just always going to have. We'll point out, I know my superintendent, when she was here, when I was the finance director, asked for 0 findings. And I told her at the time that if you ever had 0 findings at Central, I wouldn't trust the auditor. Having lived both sides of it, just because the human error issue has to get reported. And so you're always probably going to have some, but as Chris said, only having 3 pop out to us for PO findings. So, and a comment, several of our staff members have said, the district is very good about the routine stuff. What throws a kink into it is when something out of the normal happens and getting it recorded and processed properly. So it's more of those issues that are the quirks versus, okay, we need to do A, B, and C. We're very good about doing A, B, and C. It's when someone throws Y into the equation that causes a little bit of the issue. But, you know, we've done over 110 school district audits. And in that period of time, there's only one district that never had a finding in 2 years. So 6 out of 8 years they had findings, but 2 years they were our only perfect findings, and they have less than 100 students. So, and about 10 employees that deal with money. So that's what it takes. It's very difficult to have a perfect, but you want to keep it down. There's some of these that are easy to resolve going forward. And so more of it's communication and just having correct procedures in place that we didn't have.
Okay, so since the question wasn't asked, I'll ask it. Letter grade, A, B, C.
B minus to a C plus. In that range. We got a ways to go to get to an A.
Fair enough. Thank you. So now it's time to take a board action to approve the audit. Someone like to make a motion?
I will make the motion to approve the audit.
Second?
I will second.
Vote a roll call. Ms. Haskey? To accept the audit?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Aspis?
Can I vote no and blame the auditor?
If you'd like.
Yes.
All right. Ms.
I vote yes.
All right. I thought I heard you say that. I want to make sure. Ms. Montoya?
Yes.
Myself, yes. It's been approved. Thank you. On to item B, presentation of board action on Bank of the Southwest authorization list of Superintendent Steve Carlson as an account sign and access to the Bank of Southwest accounts ending in 4596 and 4079. Approval of Finance Director Stacy Gallagher as an account signer and access to the Bank of Southwest accounts ending in 4596 and 4079. Removal of Donna Vignazzi as Bank of the Southwest accounts ending in 4596 and 4079 by Stacy Gallagher. Is there anything to add to that other than just stating that and then making the motion? Do you have anything to add, Ms.? Okay, someone like to make the motion to make those changes?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I second.
Motion is seconded. Vote a roll call. Ms. Haskey?
Yes.
Ms. Aspis?
President Montoya,
Yes.
you kind of cut out on my end, and I would kindly ask that board members so not throw out a motion so quick, because I'm trying to think about what what's being asked, and then on top of that,
We talked about this already.
the signal went out, and I didn't hear what you had to say.
Okay, so out of fairness, I did finish reading it, and for you, I will read it again. That's why you made the motion, because I did complete the reading of. So I will read it again for you. Presentation and board action on Bank of the Southwest authorization list of Superintendent Steve Carlson as an account sign and access to the Bank of the Southwest accounts ending in 4596 and 4079. Approval of the Finance Director Stacy Gallagher as an account signer and access to the Bank of the Southwest accounts ending in 4596 and 4079. Removal of Donna Vignazzi on Bank of the Southwest accounts ending in 4596 and 4079 by Stacy Gallagher. I asked her if there was anything to add on her part. She said no, so it's a matter of approving this change. And then I asked for the motion. Mr. So motioned, seconded by Ms. Montoya, and now we're on the vote. And so that's why I asked for your vote.
Okay, thank you for going over that, and yes.
All righty, Mr. So?
Yes.
Ms. Montoya?
Yes.
And myself, yes, that's 5. It's been approved. Item C, Impact Aid Advocacy and Resolution Supporting Federal Impact Aid Legislation by Ms. Chappelle. Ms. Chappelle?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening, board members. Earlier in the board meeting, President Montoya mentioned returning to DC for impact aid advocacy. To that end, I have been asked to create a resolution, and I can share my screen and read that. Can I share my screen? Yes. Can you all see that? Does it need to be larger?
Yes, we
A
can.
little bit, yeah, that's good.
Okay. A resolution of the Board of Education for the Central Consolidated School District, a resolution requesting that impact aid be fully funded and modified to be part of mandatory spending. Whereas education is funded nationwide in large part through state property taxes, public schools located on reservations or which are located near reservations and educate children living on reservations and other federal lands like military bases do not generate state property taxes. Whereas beginning in 1950, Congress provided financial assistance called impact aid to school districts that have lost property tax revenue due to the presence of tax-exempt federal property or that have experienced increased expenditures due to the enrollment of federally connected children living on military bases and other federal enclaves. Whereas the findings of the 1969 Kennedy Report, Indian Education, a National Tragedy, a National Challenge, and that footnote there provides the internet listing to it, were used to support extending impact aid to students of public schools who either live on reservations or whose parents work on reservations. Whereas the Kennedy Report concluded that education for Native Americans was a failure driven by forced assimilation, cultural destruction, and systemic neglect represented by rundown and inadequate school facilities, failed school systems that produced a dismal record of poor academic achievement and low graduation rates, and a negative impact on students as a result of what was described as coercive assimilation aimed at stripping children of their culture, language, and tribal identity. Whereas, unfortunately, educational opportunities and school facilities on or near reservations remain grossly inadequate today and are still far below what is provided to other students nationally. And then that footnote refers to the Yazzie Martinez case. Whereas even though impact aid funding is a crucial component of the federal trust responsibility and was intended to address the failure of the federal government to meet that trust responsibility, impact aid funding has not been fully funded since its inception and is part of the discretionary rather than the mandatory budget. This situation creates the following: inconsistent funding amounts and timing of funding. School districts do not know in any given year either how much or when impact aid funding will be distributed. As a result, school districts cannot implement sustainable and meaningful educational programming or finance capital improvements. Chronic underfunding of reservation schools. Reservation schools experience severe budget shortfalls, resulting in outdated textbooks, overcrowded classrooms, and inadequate and deteriorating facilities. Infrastructure and technology improvements. Reservation schools operate in outdated buildings with insufficient heating, plumbing, and internet access. Recruitment and retention of educators. Low salaries and challenging working conditions make it difficult to attract and retain quality teachers in reservation schools. Addressing socioeconomic challenges, many Native students come from high poverty or low-income households and face unique challenges such as food insecurity, lack of health care, abuse, and neglect. Native American students historically face extreme educational disparities, including lower graduation rates and limited access to advanced coursework. Whereas the key reasons to fully fund impact aid and make it part of the mandatory budget, it bridges funding gaps and provides students with the resources they need to succeed, enables schools to hire qualified teachers, offer competitive salaries, professional development, and improved working conditions to reduce teacher turnover and ensure continuity in student learning, improve curriculum offerings, and provide targeted support services to enhance student outcomes. Provides necessary repairs, upgrades to school facilities, and the integration of modern technology to enhance learning opportunities. Fulfills the federal trust responsibility by providing educational equity for Native students, enables schools to address the needs of the whole child, provide wraparound services, and include Native language and culture into their curriculum. Meeting the needs of the whole child while honoring language and culture creates a sense of identity and pride among students. Studies show that culturally relevant education improves student engagement, academic achievement, and social emotional resiliency. Fully funding impact aid and making it part of the mandatory budget enables multi-year planning and improves long-term educational outcomes for students who live on or whose parents work on reservations. By ensuring adequate resources, we ensure that schools on or near reservations offer high-quality education, close achievement and social emotional gaps, and create better educational and economic opportunities for current and future generations. Now, therefore, be it resolved that CCSD supports the increase of impact aid funding and will assist in that endeavor. And with that, I stand for questions.
Any questions from the board? Ms. Haskell?
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Ms. Aspis?
Yes, I do. Would it be, well, who is our reader? Is it Trump administration, or where does this letter go to or stop at?
The thought behind the resolution would be to use it in our advocacy at the federal level.
Okay, so do I mean, to me, I feel like we're using Kennedy report so that that ties in the Navajo reservation, Navajo students. But to me, I feel to be fair in the talking about CCSD, there's also the high-risk students, and some of those students are not Navajo. So I wonder if the situation of the closures and what has happened would also be included in the report or your resolution.
Absolutely, I can definitely add that language. We've had that in other resolutions, so I can add the language we have in other resolutions regarding the economic situation in our communities. I can add that, absolutely.
And then also the, to me, I feel it's important to say that, you know, people tend to look at Navajo Nation as being a rich tribe, and due to probably the members, you know, the Navajos, and excuse me, but some forget that what has happened, as you pointed out early on, you know, that Ring of Fire situation, and that Navajo Nation has taken that hit as a tribe, and therefore, you know, as far as looking to the tribe for our Navajo students, that's not possible.
That's a great point, and I can add that. And the primary reason for including the Kennedy report is that that's the report that actually moved or expanded the provision of impact aid from just military bases to also include students that live on reservations or whose parents work on reservations. So that's why that Kennedy report nexus is important. But I absolutely agree, we can add the other information too. And we already have that because we've had it in other resolutions, so I can easily incorporate that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Mr. So?
No, pretty straightforward.
Ms. Montoya?
No questions. I just want to thank you for taking the time to draft this.
Yeah, we can
Yes,
go
ma'am,
ahead.
thank you.
Yeah, we can go ahead and approve it and make those slight modifications to the document. Ms. Chappelle?
Okay, absolutely.
Uh,
We just need a vote.
Make a
Sorry.
motion to approve.
I will make the motion to approve with the proposed changes as requested. Thank you.
Second.
I second to approve with the proposed changes as requested.
Vote a roll call. Ms. Haskell?
Yes.
Ms. Aspis?
Yes.
Mr. So?
Yes.
Ms. Montoya?
Yes.
And myself, yes, been approved. On to item 9, executive session. A, convene executive session, discussion on limited personnel matters regarding the board's goals and expectations of the superintendent as permitted under NMSA 1978, section 10-15-1 H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act. Someone like to make a motion?
I make the motion to convene an executive session.
Second.
I second.
Vote a roll call. Ms. Haskell?
Yes.
Ms. Aspis?
Yes.
Mr. So?
Yes.
Ms. Montoya?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Time is now 9:26. We are going into executive section.
What's it about, team?
Okay, the time is 10:25. Item 9, executive session B, reconvene in open session as stated that the board has discussed in the executive session only the subject identified in the agenda as the reason for which the meeting was closed. Discussion on limited personnel matters regarding the board's goals, expectations of the superintendent as permitted under NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act. Someone like to make a motion to reconvene?
I will make the motion to reconvene in open session.
Second?
I second.
All right, vote a roll call. Ms. Haskey? Ms. Aspis?
Yes.
Mr. So?
Yes.
Ms. Montoya?
Yes.
And myself, that's 4. Time is 10:26. We are reconvened. A, discussion and board action on CTE school proposal update. Mr. Paniagua. You on?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Carlson, members of the audience, thank you for having me back up here.
Nothing yet? I don't hear anything.
Is that better?
There you go.
All right. All right, again, thank you, President Montoya, members of the board, Superintendent Carlson, members of the audience, for having me back up here to present the CTE proposal for career prep. Would you like me to present the whole thing again, or
just an overview, please?
35,000-foot view, okay. So career prep right now needs a redesign that strengthens its identity, improves student engagement, and better connects students to graduation, post-secondary opportunities, and workforce readiness. I'm recommending that career prep high school transition from a school primarily identified by credit recovery to a career and technical education school built around health sciences, business, and advertising and teaching pathways. This recommendation is supported by student, parent, community, and staff feedback showing support for a more career-connected school model with hands-on learning, certifications, internships, and stronger relevance to life after high school. Stakeholders also made clear that strong academics, continued student support, and a welcoming second chance environment must remain in place. The redesign also includes developing a new school name and logo to reflect the school's new identity, with students actively involved in the process. The requested action, I am recommending approval of this significant restructure and redesign restart of Career Prep High School as a CTE-focused high school, and authorization to move forward with the implementation, planning for health sciences, business, and teaching pathways, along with the district support necessary for successful implementation.
Questions from the board? Ms. Aspis?
No, no.
Okay. Mr. So?
Just lastly, what are some of the expected outcomes that you anticipate out of this program by moving it to a more of a CTE programs? What are some of the end goals or outcomes that you hope to see come out of this transition?
Sure, thank you for the question. The primary outcome that we're trying to do is increase our graduation rates. It's the whole reason why we're here. We haven't met graduation standards set by the PED. And so that's the big thing, is offering something that students want to be in school for, that they want to show up for. So in doing that, we're also trying to tackle our attendance issues as well. Mm-hmm. And so by providing a clear pathway to the student's future, rather than sort of an abstract, hey, you're going to finish high school, get a diploma, and then good luck to you, have that built in. And so give the students a little bit more confidence to be at school, show up every day, graduate with a diploma, and getting helping our school get out of our MRI designation by increasing our graduation rate.
Okay. With that said, are we going to need to make any investments in the facility to make any sort of improvements to move in that direction?
Yeah.
Such as like investing in equipment upgrades or anything to help support the CT?
So yeah, on a couple of those issues, we're going to get a grant from the state on funding us, and we can use that grant money to help get us kicked off the ground. But also, as we're looking forward, some of the student surveys were saying that they're really interested in the trades, like construction and welding. So we would need to make an investment in the building to make sure that those areas are updated, that they're sound, that our exhaust systems are working, and all those sorts of things. So in the future, we're going to be looking for a little bit more money on that end, but for right now, I think we have enough to get up and off the ground with what we have.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the high demand careers is like welding, because if one of our outcomes of students graduate, they can graduate with careers that pay like $30, $40 at high school. That's a good move.
Absolutely, and if we can get them hooked into the local 412 and get them into apprenticeships right away, then that's even better.
So with that said, are there going to be any like partnerships with some of the different building trades, like the carpenters or some of the unions here?
Yeah, so what we're going to look for is, as we expand the programs out, is those industry partners and going out and actively making those MOUs with those industry partners, saying, hey, these are the kind of individuals that we're looking to graduate, and can we get them a spot with you, getting them into their career a little bit quicker.
Probably like another consideration is that in addition to the CT, are you also exploring the possibility of like internships over the summer? Something to that effect? Yeah,
we're looking at all of the work-based learning possibilities. If that means going over the summers, then doing that, not having those gaps in between the school year where kids aren't doing anything. Absolutely, and there's some of the industries that kids can get into can pop up over the summer. So, for example, we were talking about outdoor recreation pathway possibly in the future, and that'd be a big thing in the summer around here.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
If I may add to that, in those discussions that we had down in Albuquerque, they were talking about some of the volunteer programs within certain communities where the students who were in some of those trades would actually volunteer their time and get credit for that with some of these other businesses. So there's a lot of opportunity to be able to do that for them.
So in that, would you also be looking at doing like CDL type training?
We haven't considered that, but absolutely, that'd be a great thing to have those kids do. I think you have to be 21 to have a CDL, if I'm not mistaken, but still get them going down that path. Absolutely.
Anything else?
No.
Ms. Matoya?
No questions.
Yeah,
It says you must be at least 18 years of old for or 21 for interstate driving.
So we can get them at 18 and locally? Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Ms. Haskell, any comments? She on or not? Oh, okay. Well, we'll go ahead and continue.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So now that the focus sounds like, for career, for trades, what about the second chance for the students who maybe perhaps still want to go to college? What about those students?
Thank you for that question. So we're still going to be operating as
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? All right.
Yes.
All right, the battery and the microphone's running low. So we still are going to operate as a high school.
I can't hear you.
They're going to change out the batteries. Ms. Aspis, they're changing out the batteries.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Noble. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for your question. Yes, we're still going to be operating as a regular high school offering the diplomas. Students still have to graduate meeting all of the requirements that the state has as far as credits are concerned. And we are still going to be pushing the college pathway as well, if that's what students want to do. We want to make sure that if you come into career prep, you're prepared for whatever eventuality you want to end up in and later on in life. So let's say a student's coming in, they find a pathway that they like, and halfway through their career, they're saying, you know, I think I want to go to college now. We'll still have them ready to go to college as well. In fact, we're looking at trying to get some Chief Manuelito scholars and keeping the scholarship portion of our school still open as well, but offering that CTE pathway as well.
Is there any chance that the students from before could go back?
So students who have left our school?
Yes, I mean, you had a school that focused mainly on just graduating. And now it's more of a, just to me, it sounds more, you know, your focus is going to be on trades and internships and of the like, but are they able to come back?
Yeah, if students, you know, if they have their credits and they're in a good position, did we lose them? Oh, okay. Then we'll still support our students who are there, and some of the ones who have gone on, if they want to try to re-enter and come on back, of course we'll have that conversation with them and see that we're a good fit for them, and try to get them back as well. We don't want to leave anybody behind. We don't want to exclude anybody. We want to make it open and welcoming for everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate that. So thank you. So at this time, I'm going to entertain a motion to accept the proposal.
I motion to accept the proposal.
Second.
I second.
Ms. Haskell, I got you. Vote a roll call, Ms. Haskell?
Yes.
Ms. Asmus?
Yes.
Mr. So?
Yes.
Ms. Montoya?
Yes.
And myself, that's 5. It is approved. Thank you for that. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you very much. I appreciate you guys' support.
Thank you.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing what the outcomes are going to be. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So on to item 11. Requested action items and or reports for future meetings. A possible item for next meeting. I wanted to put out first before we move on that in May obviously is graduation season, especially the week of the 21st, and that's when our Thursday board meeting is. So there's going to be a consideration of either moving it to the work session on the 14th and the regular board meeting on 28th, or combining it, the possibility on the 14th, and just get it done in one shot. Is everybody okay with that? It just depends. Depends on this guy. Well, this guy too.
I mean, if most of the stuff's pretty straightforward, we can knock them all out.
Yeah, we can get taken care of on the combined. Ms. Asmus, Ms. Haskell, did you hear that?
The 14th?
The 14th. Do a combined meeting on the 14th
The
because
14th. Okay.
that's that Thursday. Everybody okay
And
with
when
that?
are the graduations from there?
Yeah, they start, I think it's on with the junior high, Kirtland Middle School, which is on, I think, the 19th, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the high schools. Yeah. Yeah. So that's basically what you're looking at for that week, and that was the week of the regular school board meeting, which was the 21st, which is that Thursday. So again, the consideration of just combining it on the 14th so we don't have to worry about it the rest of the month.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any items for that meeting? We'll certainly try to not to overload that and stay till past midnight.
Do we need like a final graduation list or report?
If you want that, we can do that.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else?
I do have an item, but I need to run it by Jermaine on the wording before I
Okay.
air it.
All righty. I appreciate that.
And also, I'd like for Board President Montoya to reach out to Ms. Tome and see, well, what about a board retreat? Is there, are we looking at something like that?
Yes, we are, because we're also going to be working on the strategic plan, so we're going to have to do that.
So that's strategic is usually pretty much very lengthy.
And the consideration
And-
that I was going to pose is a couple of days.
And then on top of that, we still have not done a evaluation.
That was going to be included.
So that's pretty lengthy.
Yep. All of the above.
So, yeah, I'd like, to put on the agenda about discussion and see how we can set that up.
Okay. And again, I know it says B, but if you have anything, we can certainly email those considerations to the superintendent and I.
Do we get a say in the upcoming year's board meetings and locations, or is that determined elsewhere?
Say that again.
Oh, it's in July.
That's when it's set.
Okay.
The schedule is set in July. You were asking about the meetings, right?
Yeah.
June or July.
Okay. Sweet.
I guess before we adjourn, do we need to do any action on approving the operating budget for next year? Because I think we're coming up on some
Well,
deadlines.
we will. It'll be presented. So obviously that's going to be a consideration from this guy as soon as she already left to get that done right. And along, because we've already approved the calendar, so that's already taken care of, because that's an important component. So we've had a hesitation before with that, so now we're just waiting on the budget to be presented. So we're good.
Okay.
All righty. With that, someone like to make a motion to exit?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Vote roll call. Ms. Haskey?
Yes.
Ms. Aspis?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
So?
Yes.
Ms.
Yes.
Montoya? Did you say no? Oh, okay. And mine is yes. The time is now 10:43. Thank you all very much for sticking around. Appreciate it.